Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
So what is, as we are a few days into 2023, what is your New Year's resolution? I think this year my New Year's resolution is not to make a New Year's resolution because I know that I'm probably not going to stick to it. But we are going to dig into goal setting and achieving those goals. And she helps people achieve those goals for so many. And Genevieve Wisdom is here, Wisdom Life Coaching. Welcome back. How you doing? Happy New Year, by the way.
Thank you so much, Steve. Thank you so much. Happy New Year to you too. And yes, it's Genevieve Wisdom of Wisdom Life Coach. I'm so glad to be back.
Genevieve, I have the top 10 list of, I'm not going to do all of them, but these are the top New Year's resolutions for 2023. And some of them are pretty obvious. They moved around a little bit from past years. Like, for example, eat better, lose weight. They went down. Number one is save money. I love number two, be healthier in general. So that's a great one. Work out more. If you go, actually, 4 out of the 5 are about your health. And if you go down a little bit lower, number 6, try to be happier in general. Yeah. Love that one. Pay down your debt, improve your mental health. Number 10, learn something new. So it's basically a lot of the ones that we've always had in terms of resolutions, a couple of fresh ones in there, like the mental health one. Wow. I'm glad it's on everybody's radar. Yeah. But when we are setting goals, when we do resolutions, how do we stick to them? Because I forget what the stat is, but usually like 2.5 weeks after you begin, that resolution, you derail and everything, falls down. How do we get there? How do we do that?
Of course. Well, thank you, Steve, for that great introduction, because that was on my mind. Because in a new year, that's the number one reason for clients to contact life coaches and me to help them with goal setting. So you're right. A resolution will not happen unless you have goals. And now we've all heard of goal setting. What I love to do is take the complicated, make it easy, or take something that you've heard of in general and maybe dig down a little bit deeper. And you may not have thought about it that way. And I'm here to do that with goal settings. So, the first thing about a goal is that I start by saying, what are your goals? And then we find out, how long have you had those goals? And then I might tell you, get rid of it. And people go, what? You want me to get rid of my goal? And I say, yes, because here's what should happen from a goal. You should be able to attain it. It should be motivating. It should get you from point A to point B, which is what life coaching is. And that's what life is all about. And Steve, I know you know this, and our valued listeners, we start out with a great goal and life happens. And the time, the money, the mental health, whatever it is that we need to get that goal attained doesn't happen. But what I've found is if we hang on to those goals year after year, it sometimes holds us in place. And one next aside about goal setting is I have a life coach as well. Of course, you have to. And mine is a business coach. And we talked about my goals so that I can be the best life coach for you. And one thing he mentioned was something called frozen goals. And frozen goals are goals that we've had, they're there, and they actually stop us. Our goals are not supposed to stop us. They're supposed to help us move forward in healthier, better direction. So what I do is check out your goals. How long have you had them? And we shake them up. We evaluate them if you've had them for too long.
You just said something interesting in that you have a business coach, but when you coach people, you coach them in all different areas. It could be business, it could be life, it could be personal life, it could be all aspects. You do it all.
I do. And that's why I love being a life coach. And I love being a life coach. And people always see that when they come to me. It's because life happens. And I have the education and I have the experience now at the age that I am at, which is why my platform is Youthful Aging. Because when we're blessed to have had some life university experiences under us, we can then use those to delineate, in my case, wisdom happens to be my last name, and I like to use it whenever I can because it's true. And 100% life happens. So you may have a goal for your business, and something happens in health, something happens in finances, something happens in relationship. And now you're not quite sure, how do I get back on track to attain that goal that I set for business? Well, that's where I come in as a life coach, the general practitioner of life, I'd like to say. And you sometimes just need someone with experience and wisdom to talk it through, help you set those goals, help you chuck the ones that are not going to get you where you need to get to sooner. I like to do things sooner than later. There are some things that take a longer time, so we reset goals from time to time, but let's just go from point A to point B, set a timeline, and let's do it.
So when we talk about the frozen goals, do we mean that those are the goals that we tried to attain in 2022, but it didn't happen? So now we kind of brought them back in, or we pressed the pause button, 3 weeks after New Year's 2022, and now, you know what? It's a brand new year. I'm gonna go right back to that again. I am gonna lose those 15 pounds or whatever. Is that
Yeah,
what it is? Is that the
exactly.
frozen goal?
Yes and no. A frozen goal is really something that you may have dragged around with you for a longer time.
Okay.
Now, it's something that actually has you stuck instead of have you moving forward. So it could be a weight goal. And trust me, when we talk about hormones, maybe we'll do that one of these days.
Mm.
And if you have a weight goal, for example, sometimes it causes things to freeze. But it's really something that has you stuck in life, that really cause you angst. You mentioned when you were looking at the top 10 list, Steve, a lot of people are talking about mental health. Well, something seemingly simple that really affects our mental health is anxiety. A lot of
Oh
people are
yeah,
anxious. And as you know, I have a
huge.
nutraceutical, I know it's huge. As you know, I have a nutraceutical background, which is researched vitamins and minerals, so supplements, but they're in a different level. They're usually what naturopathic doctors recommend. And so I have people always asking about, anxiety and sleep, which affects your goals. So what we want to do with frozen goals, get rid of those goals that cause you angst. And so it may not mean that you have to get rid of the dream at the end of the goal. For instance, I want to start a new business, and you've had that for 2 decades or 2 years, whatever it may be. Whatever has kept you stuck, it's different for all of us. We'll look at it and we'll chip away at it, get you out of that place so that you can move in 2023. That's what we want to do. Move forward.
Okay, so that is me. I had this business idea. Don't need to go into any detail. I first thought about this idea in 2019. I was going to execute it last year. Things happened, and then they for a reason. And here I am, 2023, and I was going to tackle it this past weekend, but wound up organizing instead. I still haven't done it, and I'm about 70% there. And I have other people relying on this maybe taking place because they're going to be a part of it. And my biggest challenge is I think it just comes down to time, like finding time to work on it and time management, you know, kids and everything else. But my gut says over and over, it's going to work. It's my intuition is like, you need to do this. This is something you need to do, but I haven't been able to find the time. I don't know how to do that. I honestly don't.
I understand that. And Steve, you bring up another very paramount question for all of us in life, which is why I love life coaching. It's time. It's our most precious resource because we can't make more. We can make more money. A lot of people think money is the most precious resource, and trust me, we need the money, of course, to live. However, it's not money, it's time. Because once it's gone, it's gone. And so I understand because I also have had to work through, I still work through time challenges. However, if you have a goal, Steve, I think and it's interesting, you hit on something that I was going to bring up. You can take that frozen goal, come to Wisdom Life Coach Genevieve. will help you light fire to that goal. And you melt the ice. Imagine it being frozen and have you
Hmm.
just rigid and you can't move. But you said something incredible, which is, Genevieve, I believe in this. I believe in this. And others believe in it with me. And others are actually depending on you. And so, what I would do, for instance, in that situation is we would sit down and together, I don't let you do it on your own. Some things I do together with my clients. We go through your time. What do you do with your time from you get up till you go to sleep? And we might do that for a 3 day period. And then we're going to just block time. It sounds simple, but when I say block time, it's not the dog, it's not your daughter, it's nobody, it's just you and this goal, because others are going to benefit so much. So what we do is we block the time and we do it. Nothing else matters.
You
Let's do it,
know,
Steve. We'll talk about it outside of here because
Genevieve,
you have to keep it on the wraps for now.
yeah, yeah, you said something very powerful there in that others will benefit from it as well. So when I execute this goal and it will work, and I'm very, like super humbled, but something's telling me. Let's put it this way: I was already about to pull a trigger on it and move it forward, and somebody else came up with a similar idea. Doesn't mean I can't do it.
Ah,
Doesn't mean I can't
there's
do it.
room. There's
Doesn't
room for
mean
you. Yes,
because
exactly.
there's all different ways to do it, but it's almost the universe's way of saying, hello,
Of course.
you should have done it. You still
Of
got time to
course.
do it. Kick it in. And again,
Of
I already
course.
built out a lot of what I needed to do. But what did I do this weekend? I I fly in intuition. My intuition said you need to back up computer files because you're flying dangerous here. And I was like, all right, that's got to be a priority. And that took a number of hours to do and set up
Of
systems and
course.
everything. I'm a geek, so
Of
I love
course.
doing it. But
Awesome.
but
It's
there's time.
necessary.
It's necessary. Yeah,
Yes.
because the goal isn't going to happen if this other stuff falls apart. So I have to make sure.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
but
Exactly, Steve.
it's do you go by in your intuition? Have you been guided? Have you got feelings where it's like I should do this or I should do that, and maybe you thought you should do something and didn't, and were wrong. Think back over the years. Anything stand out in your mind?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It goes back to many things, a lot of things with business, for sure,
Mm.
where I think, you know what, I need to walk through that door. I didn't. And like you, someone else walked through and you're going, you know what, I missed that window. However, you said something that is incredible, which is I was so close to pulling the trigger. Somebody else did. But you know what? I still have time. And here's what's great and why I love life coaching. There's only one Steve Harper, and you, Steve Harper. Might be other Steve Harpers out there, but only one that is you. And others need you to deliver what someone else might deliver, but it's not going to be for them. It wouldn't resonate with them. You, that intuition, that feel, how we resonate and really communicate and follow one another in the world of following, it's only you that can reach that group of people. I firmly believe that.
I
And
totally
so,
agree. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
excellent. So do it, because even though, and like you said, there's room for all of us.
Oh, I don't even. I'm
And
not. In fact, I'm glad that somebody was doing the idea because it
yes,
just proves that it's a good idea. So I should be doing it. It's like,
exactly.
and you're right.
Exactly.
I'm not. I'm humble in saying nobody's going to do it like me. So it's
Uh,
going to be different. Maybe better in some regards.
of
Everything
course.
everything is relative there, but yeah, it's time management is a big thing. That being said, and I'm sure that holds a lot of people back from their goals. What do you do to manage your time in terms of I'm going deep here. Like in
Let's
terms
go
of
deep.
your calendar, do you have any apps that you use? You know, Genevieve, I want to see what she's using. Is there anything that you like? Or are you just, you plop things on your phone, you old school write it down? Like, how does it work for you?
Oh my goodness, Steve. Well, here we go with youthful aging. A part of what I like to talk about to the kids, old school meets new school. So I'm an old school girl. I like to write things down. And Steve, if you saw I'm also a bookworm. So I love to touch and write, and that's how I get things accomplished. I write it down and cross it off. That may not be for you, but the number one thing with time management and in my business coach and with my coaching is you write it down. As a matter of fact, there is a study, I don't have the exact year, but it goes something like this. It was graduates from Harvard. So, the top of the top, the creme de la creme, and they had their goals at the end of their graduation year. And then they had a cohort study. They followed them throughout life. I think it was for a 20-year study. And a very small percentage achieved their goals. And the only difference that, life happens, of course, but the only difference in the group, the small 3% that achieved their goals, was that they wrote it down.
Mm.
If we don't write it down, and it's just here, and you hear that over and over, but now you're hearing it differently from Genevieve Wisdom. Just write it down, cross it off, prioritize it. And as I said, I have a coach so that I can be the best coach for you. A, B,
Yeah.
C priority, write it down. With time management, time waits for no one. There's songs, aren't there, Steve's old adages about that?
Time
Write
waits
it
for
down.
no
Write
one.
down your time.
Time waits
Yes.
for no one. It's you're talking to this jockey. That's the Rolling Stones. They did a song.
Yes.
Time waits for no one.
Yes.
But what you just said, Genevieve, is so true. And the research has proven every couple of years that the impact of the mind to the hand in writing it down, you remember it, it connects with you. And there's nothing wrong with typing it on the phone.
Sure.
It does, but it
Sure.
doesn't have the same impact. So I
It
try to write
doesn't.
stuff down. I've tried I put stuff in calendars. It's good because it gives you a reminder. You got to pop up. Oh yeah, there's that. But when it comes down to, I think a goal is almost like a business plan, like a blueprint, and you really need to have it in
100%.
front of you to see it. Makes a
You
huge
really do.
difference. But that research, anybody look it up. It's same exact reason and way that you journal. If you're gonna
Absolutely.
don't do this when you journal. You have to physically write it down if you want the intention, the affirmations, or the gratitude. Maybe you have a gratitude journal. You got to write it
Of
down.
course. Of
Yeah.
course. 100%. It does help. It helps to encode things. And Steve, we're human. Life has changed. We live in the technology age. However, there are some things that make us uniquely human. And one of it is that hand writing it down, it encodes things and it motivates. So, talking about goal setting, how do we get from point A to point B? We have this much time. Write it down and check it off. Steve,
Yep.
I'm going to write a couple of things down with you outside of here, and, we'll check it off together.
Yeah.
That'd be great. We should try and do that.
I'm totally on board. I'm totally on board.
Excellent.
What about with New Year's resolutions or goals, if you want to call them that? The expectations, because maybe a lot of us think we can do something, but we don't have a reasonable expectation. Like, I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to lose 20 pounds in January. Is that reasonable? Probably not. It's probably not attainable.
Yeah.
Expectations, thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, if we have unrealistic expectations, then that can set you up in a frozen goal immediately, meaning you could achieve this goal if you gave yourself more time. If you're realistic about your life, what is going on with your family? What is going on with your heart? What is going on with the different things that could affect the outcome of this goal? So, if we start on a solid foundation, so I love to do foundational things, which is why life coaching is so important because every aspect affects life. And then once you have a solid foundation, something that is reasonable, you can come up with that with your life coach. Because sometimes when we try and do it on our own, we go, yeah, sure, I'll just stop drinking coffee. It's easy. And then you realize, wait a minute, caffeine, I need it. And then you go down that rabbit hole for, oh my goodness,
I'm
Steve,
not
I saw
crossing that
that.
one off.
Not
I'm not going to
don't
cross that
cross
one
the
off.
coffee off. I know, but I know people in nutraceuticals who want to do that for other reasons. I'm not saying
Oh,
coffee is all bad, not at all.
you know what? I am listening because you always hear these different, and you have that other background about taking
Yes,
care of the inside and not just the outside
yes,
and everything else.
yes.
If you have something to share on coffee, I'd love to hear it. If not, we move in a different direction. But yeah,
Yes. Well, yeah, I have something to share on coffee. Make sure if you can, you want to have coffee fresh, then we'll come back around. So if you can, make sure that you're having the beans ground immediately. But that's the global thought on coffee. You want to make sure it's organic because you don't want to be drinking pesticides or anything like that.
hmm,
If you start to put cream and sugar in your coffee, it now binds the chemicals that's in coffee and can cause digestive upset. We don't want that. If your coffee sits too long, it becomes acidic. We don't want to have an acidic environment, neither on our skin, causes lines, nor an acidic environment inside, more alkaline inside, a little more acidic on the outside. So we want to keep it balanced. Coffee becomes acidic in 3 minutes. Steve, how long have you had that coffee? Don't tell me you sit and sip it all day. So we need Steve to be having fresh cups of coffee and not too much. One or two,
interesting.
1 or 2 cups, not too much coffee. And then there's something called a coffee enema. I just thought I'd throw that in there.
Always
It's
heard
on the
about that.
other end.
Yeah, Janet Jackson used to do coffee enemas. She did, and
Well,
yeah,
go
I
ahead,
remember
please,
I
Steve.
interviewed her. I never forget. I was at MTV and her she was cold, so I was like, yeah, take my hoodie, and then we started talking about that. I digress, but the acidic thing is
Yes,
interesting because
yes.
I had an ulcer way back in the day. Call it 5 years, whatever. And every once in a while, I get a little bit of flare up, like, yeah, that's kind of, and I think it's probably coffee. But you just said it turns acidic after a period of time. There have been
Yes.
times where I'll drink, it'll be sitting here for all day. And I will admit it's disgusting, but I've walked in and coffee's on the counter in my office, and I'm like, from the day before. And I was like, let me just take a swig of that. So what? So to your point, who knew? I never knew it becomes acidic.
Yeah, it
Ah,
does. It's like most things in life, it oxidizes when things are exposed to the environment.
sure.
It starts to lose the good stuff. For instance, that's why if you pick fruit, a lot of people don't realize your fruit can turn to just carbs in not a long time, usually roughly around 48, 72 hours a week. Where we live, we don't have fresh fruit. As soon as you pick it, it starts oxidizing, it starts to give off all that good stuff. So, coffee, if you love coffee and your body can tolerate it, not too much. Usually, the rule of thumb is 1 or 2, but it's based on body size. But don't have it sitting around.
Mm.
Organic beans, have it get. Oh, I wish I was closer. I would send you like a little coffee grinder, and every time in between shows, you just go and grind your beans and just make a little, finish that, and do another one. That's how you can get around that acidic coffee because digestive upset, you don't want that. It causes ulcers, sleep problems later on. It just throws the apple cart. The body likes to be in homeostasis, in balance. If we have an acidic environment, throws it off. We don't want that. So if coffee is a goal, Steve, like we're saying, losing weight, 20 pounds in 1 month, giving up coffee, I'm going to stop. We already freeze ourselves because the goals are too lofty. We want to understand them foundationally, and do them in steps, So maybe you can say, okay, I'm going to have fresh coffee today, and, tomorrow you can, get that espresso machine in the office so that you
Mm.
don't have to.
And you make me wonder now, like places like Starbucks, can you get organic coffee there? I'm going to be Googling that.
That's
I'm kind of
that's a
curious.
good.
Okay, final question, because
Yes,
she knows everything from the inside to the outside. You said, milk, cream, things like that you know,
yes,
can bind the coffee together
yes.
and work against you.
So yes. So what I mean by that is everything is chemical. Everything boils down to chemical. When we think about, if someone, let's talk about a banana, for instance, instead of milk. If you eat a banana, it doesn't stay in a banana in your body. It breaks down to its constituents, potassium, all the minerals, etc. Same thing with milk. You drink milk, it breaks down to its constituents. Same thing with coffee. Now, coffee has caffeine. If you're adding milk to caffeine and then sugar, they break down chemically. and certain things bind to one another. For instance, I'll go to something simple like iron. Everybody understands iron. Even men actually sometimes need iron. You think just women? Men, if they've been athletes, they may need some more iron because of the nitric oxide cycle, how much weight on the blood. So iron, for instance, if you take iron with coffee, it binds chemically, they bind together. So now you're not absorbing your iron because the caffeine in coffee binds to it. So if you love a cup of coffee, ideally you want to drink it black.
Hmm.
Tall, black, bold cup of coffee if you can. If you can't, then you just want to make sure that you're balancing with your you take your vitamins and minerals, etc., and try not to do it too much if you can't do it black. I can't do it black, so I just what I put if I'm having decaf coffee, organic decaf, you'll see me drinking that. I put honey usually, or sometimes goat milk, because it's not
Hmm.
goat is actually not dairy. It's different. It's the dairy that binds, not
Okay,
so much.
you're reading my
Yeah.
mind because we're just about out of time, but I'm glad we talked about this. Um,
No.
what about if you're not, and I drink it the same way. I drink decaf. I
Yes.
don't put any sugar in, maybe some unsweetened flavoring for fun, but I try to use either almond milk or oat milk because it's not dairy. So
Yes.
probably a better choice than just putting in, some type of
Better
dairy
choice
in.
than dairy. Absolutely. Better choice than dairy. And so in general, it's usually milk or cream in your coffee. Usually a better choice.
Uh,
Um, and when it comes to decaf, just quickly, and we'll let the listeners think about this, you want to make sure how they're taking the caffeine out of our coffee is good. One way they do it is with formaldehyde. You don't want that. So you want to make sure it's an organic decaf coffee, a Swiss water decaf process. You can get Swiss water decaf coffee. That's one level. Then the next level, make sure it's organic. We don't do everything at once, Steve, because if not, it just gets so overwhelming. I'm not about that. You do little baby steps. We start global, start with something large. So if you like coffee, try and get it freshly brewed. It's best for the body and won't be acidic. Then we go deeper.
how did we go from New Year's resolutions to coffee? Because
Because
well,
coffee is great and people love coffee, and it's usually a New Year's resolution. It's usually a goal. I'll stop drinking coffee, and
yeah,
nobody can do it.
absolutely. But you know what? You don't need to if you do it right. So first thing I'm going to be
That's
doing is
right.
looking what places I can easily get organic coffee at because I'm trying to get more organic. Just hearing more and
Good for
more
you.
what's going on, with our supply chain or food chain. Your website. We want to reach out to you.
Yes.
We want to talk about meeting those goals or even the other stuff that the inside of the body. That's why she looks the way she does. How do we find you?
Wisdomlifecoach.com. And the best way to find me, especially on your platform, is info wisdomlifecoach.com, which is my email, fastest way. And then we can talk about goal setting, resolutions, what the difference, all that good stuff.
All good stuff today. Genevieve, great talking with you and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, Steve. A pleasure.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home. that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.